Merci, mes chers confrères. So I'm going to switch in English. Sorry for you. I would like to start this presentation just coming back to the annex of what has been said and presented a little bit earlier this afternoon. I mean this proposal for an Artificial Intelligence Act. Because if you check those annexes, you will have a very good idea of what is the scale of the revolution in the field of justice that will come with that artificial intelligence. I mean justice in a very broad sense, since this Artificial Intelligence Act also deals with many aspects as the use of artificial intelligence by police, by investigation services, and also in the field of migration, for example. So if you go from outside to the core of the justice system, you will find what has been presented already by other speakers. I mean biometric surveillance of public spaces in a very large series of cases. Then you will have all what is about borders protection, I mean migration, asylum, and so on, with very impressive tools, as tools to monitor the emotional state of migrants coming in the European Union, and also many other possibilities. Then criminal investigations. In the criminal investigation, you will find tools like lie detector, emotional state verification, prediction of the occurrence or repetition of a potential criminal offense. So you can imagine as important it is. And it's the same thing in criminal prosecution itself. I mean, many tools to assess the reliability of evidence will be using artificial intelligence. You will have the possibility to profile prosecuted persons, and even in post-sentencing, you will have to assess the risk of reoffending. And finally, for the judge himself, it is said that there will be tools to assist the judge himself in interpreting and researching the fact and the case law which is applicable to a case. That's what is written in that annex. What does it mean for now? For now, there are already many software which are already used, for example, in USA to predict where the crimes are more likely to occur. This has been presented by Mr. Vitenov during its presentation, but it's not only for police services in USA. You have already many European countries, for example France, which is using that kind of tools. Then, obviously, everybody, I guess, in the room has heard about Loomis case and the possibility to classify people by risk to offend or to reoffend. And one other example is what is already in place at the eastern border of European Union, I mean intelligence system to control migrations. Also, I guess many of you have heard about that kind of studies that has been published during the last years in the field of justice. This is one very known study carried out about the behavior of the Supreme Court of the United States, and the authors of these studies have claimed that their algorithm was able to predict the position of the Supreme Court at 75%, with a 75% rate of result. Obviously, more accurately than a lawyer is able to do. I guess you also know that very famous study about Israeli judges, which is very informative. We all know that justice is what the judge ate for breakfast, but now it has been proven scientifically, since more precisely, justice is the glucose level in the brain of the judge. That's the conclusion of these Israeli studies. And then there is the one for the criminal lawyer. James, it's for you. This is a French research that have shown that a professional judge is a little more lenient when he has to judge one individual for a criminal offense on the day of his birthday. So, James, stop to read the file. Just choose the day of the and you will get better results. So, that's what is already available for us, but even if it's still and already very impressive, I think we can say today that we are still a very long way from a justice being delivered by a robot judge. And probably you know also that very famous Gartner curve, and probably that according to these Gartner models, we had a tendency to overestimate the effect of the innovation in a very short term. But we know also that we must be very careful not to underestimate the effect of that innovation in the very long or the long term. So it's what we're going to try to do this afternoon. So the phrase, the sentence, code is law, is very, very famous. And the question we have to check is, does this sentence can be reversed, and can it be said that the law can be transformed into computer code? And it's also for James, it's about making crepes today. So my question is, do you think that the law can be coded? And it's the question that Peter has begun to answer during this afternoon. I think that there are some peculiar features in the law that make the things very, very difficult. And more or less, it's not too bad news for lawyers. Why? Because, and we know that, the law does not handle material things. We are trying to handle, it's trying to handle concept, things of the mind. And obviously, it's more difficult than speaking about things of the material world. Also, as you know, the law is reflecting, meaning that each of us is doing a mental reconstruction and then sending that mental reconstruction to the mind of the judge. So many occasions for discussion, obviously. After that, as we know also, there are many, and Peter, you have already said that, there are many possibilities to interpret the law, and we have a lot of freedom to try to propose new interpretation of the law. Then, the law can be ambiguous, and it can be ambiguous because it has been badly written, and it's happened a lot of time. But the law can be ambiguous because it has been decided that she must be ambiguous because, for example, it's a result of a political compromise, and you need to be ambiguous to carry on and to continue with the law. Also, the law may be incomplete, and it can be incomplete because it has been wanted as incomplete to let a little bit of room to the judge to interpret, and also we know that the law cannot be able to foresee every possibility. So if you add all those elements, what in French we say about la teneur indécise du droit, it's very difficult for computer to be able to say, to code the law and to give right information about what can be the result of a case, for example. And this resistance of the law to the computer has been, I think, very clearly expressed by Ben Michaels in that formula that you have on the screen. There is nothing as such a thing as language meaning, and there is no such thing as meaning of the law. There are only meanings in context, which means that each time we are discussing about the law, we can propose a new interpretation, and that depending on the circumstances, there will be a new interpretation of the law. So, does it mean that as lawyers, we are completely safe about the question of artificial intelligence? That is where things has begun worse with what has been presented by Peter, natural language processing. Because it's only about statistic and it's only about calculation. And obviously, the machine does not understand anything. But those calculations are sufficient for a machine to master notion as context and as concept, which are the basis, obviously, of our understanding of a text, written or spoken, as Peter has said in this presentation, and its work. So, Peter, you have also explained that NLP was everywhere, and it's absolutely true. Automatic translation, everybody knows that. Then you have, if it's work, yes, predictive text. Everybody who is making a SMS know what is predictive text. Email filters, spam, and so on, you know that. Grammar checkers, obviously. Smart assistant as Thierry, everybody's get it. Search indexes also. Voice recognitions. Social media monitoring to check what is written in Twitter and so on. Chatbots also. And also a program to help you to hire and recruit new employees. Everywhere you get today that kind of application, which are applications from NLP. As a lawyer, it's very easy, and if you check in your own firm, in my own firm, which is a medium-sized firm, we get 5 over 6 of those tools already. The chatbot, I have not been convinced by the effect of what I tried. So, no chatbot for now, but I don't know for how long we will be waiting for that. So, law firms are already using a very large number of that kind of tools. But I would like to focus on the field of legal research, because obviously legal research is one of the main issues for lawyers, and the mastery of natural language is already at the origin of a real revolution in the field of legal researches. What is doing NLP is to overcome that problem of interpretations by using the mastery of natural language to access to the only relevant interpretation of the law, I mean the interpretation by the judge itself. So don't worry about trying to code the law, and just try to go to the case law and find the relevant case law. It is exactly what is doing NLP today. And what does it mean in that field? It means that natural language queries are replacing keyword studies, so you are looking for case law using keywords, but you are able to ask real questions to the machine in natural language. You are also able to get a result from a machine which is able to master concept and context. You are already able to study and to look for similarity. I mean, I want a case law with similar facts, or I want case law with similar legal issues, or I want case law with the same motivation or with the same solution as this one or this one, which is obviously quite different from what was possible until today. Then we have also the possibility to access to the way the decision is built, the plan of the decision, and finally, you can also access to a real analysis of opposing arguments that's very pleasant. You put the document coming from your opponent, the brief or your opponent in the computer, and it's looking for any case law that has been quoted or any legal text that has been quoted, and it will give you a report, and you will be free of any research. The research you have to do by yourself, taking 2, 3, or 4 hours for a large brief, will be done by the machine within 1 or 2 minutes, and you will have direct access to every text or every case law which has been quoted by your opponent. And in practical terms, because in this roundtable we are speaking about what is already available and how does it change the way we are working, it means that a case law research which was asking for probably 3-4 hours of work can be done within 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So that's very impressive. Obviously, we don't do case law research all day long, but each time you are doing that, you are changing of scale and you are able to do the same work in a very, very significant less amount of work. In France, we have a bunch of 4 companies which are already competing on those solutions, which are proposing commercial solutions for lawyers, and they are both of those 4 companies are new companies. I mean, the very classical legal editors, very powerful, are still proposing keywords research tools, and those new entrants are new companies, very innovative, sometimes at the limit. When they are acting, we have there are a real fight about legal and judicial data among those companies, and this is quite interesting for us. So how does it work? Within 1 minute. So you don't ask anymore by keyword, you ask a question to the machine, and is able to give you the case law relevant from the database. Finally, and it will be my conclusion, what next? What next? Probably something like IBM Project Debater. What is doing IBM Debater? It's a program that allows a machine to debate with a human, exchanging argument on any subject. For example, it can be discussed about the effect of video games about adolescents. And how do the computer is arguing? It's just trying to find on the internet relevant argument, for example, on Wikipedia. So now imagine that the same computer will look for its arguments in a complete database of case law, and you can imagine that the computer will be able to build an argument as the lawyer is able to do that. And that's my conclusion.
Thank you very much.